This is a Craftsman GCV-160. It's a rear-wheel drive vehicle powered by a Honda motor. A new one of these will cost you somewhere between $150 to $300. But cheap doesn't always necessarily mean good value, and today I'm going to show you why the GCV-160 just isn't worth it. I've rented this GCV-160 using Churro, a service that lets you rent other people's cool and interesting cars instead of your standard boring airport rental cars. You can sign up for Churro using the link in the description below and you'll get 25 cents off your first rental. Churro's given me a budget to rent cars, and today I chose to rent this GCV-160. Now this GCV-160 is a 2016 model, but as far as I can tell they're still making the exact same mower today. And I say as far as I can tell because unlike your standard car company, Craftsman doesn't have car dealerships or a website where you can price and build your dream car. Instead, if you wanted to buy a mower similar to this, you'd have to try and hunt one down at your local Sears or maybe a neighbor's garage sale. And the GCV-160 has plenty of interesting quirks and features which I'll show you today. Then I'll get behind the wheel and drive it, and then I'll give it a NUG score. For more of my thoughts on the GCV-160 experience, you can click the link in the description below to read my column on autotrader.com/understeer, where I've also compiled a list of the cheapest mowers currently available on AutoTrader. Starting with the interior, you might notice that the GCV-160 doesn't have any seats, or a roof, or really any body panels at all for that matter. That would be because unlike your standard vehicle, you actually are walking while driving the GCV-160. It seems like a step backwards compared to every other car on the market, but for $300, what can you expect? One thing you may have noticed about the GCV by now is the complete lack of any kind of cluster or touchscreen or any real amenity of that sort. There's not even a radio. The GCV-160 is just pathetically outclassed by literally everything on the market. I don't think I've ever reviewed a vehicle this bare bones. I mean, you can't even tell how fast you're going, how much the engine is revving, you can't listen to any music. It's really quite sad. Another interesting thing about the GCV-160 would be the fact that it's a convertible. Now I know that might seem kind of strange because it has no roof, there's nothing for it to convert using, but I'll show you what I mean. And I know you'll want to see it because, after all, I seem to have become the internet's convertible guy. Now the process for removing the convertible top on the GCV-160 is incredibly simple, and it reinstalls very simply too. Here, I'll show you what I mean. All you need to do is just pull up here, and now that you've got it off, you can just pull here, and there we go. Now to reinstall, you simply grab your top here, pull up, put it in place, and there you go. One interesting thing about the GCV-160 would be the unique throttle control. Instead of having your standard gas, brake, and clutch pedals, you've got this kind of lever thing here that you can put into choke, fast or slow. You don't have a whole lot of control over the throttle. You're either going fast or you're going slow. One thing that car companies lately have really been kind of bragging about is keyless entry or keyless start. The GCV-160 takes it one step further, as it doesn't even come with a key. To start the GCV-160, you simply need to put this into the choke position and then pull here. They also made it extra difficult to start, just to make up for the fact that anyone can start it. That way thieves will hopefully be repelled when they're unable to start it on the first pull. Another interesting quirk about the GCV-160 would be these incredibly thin, flimsy plastic tires. It's not very often that you buy a car and it comes with tires made of anything other than rubber, but these are plastic and they are very thin. I thought the tires on the i3 were thin, but I mean, I've eaten sandwiches that were thicker than these. One kind of cool thing the GCV-160 does have going for it, though, is incredibly easy to adjust suspension. You've got these little levers here that you can just pull up and move around as you need to raise or lower your GCV, which is really quite cool and something that you don't see on a lot of cars. One thing I'm sure you all want to hear from the GCV-160 would be its frankly beautiful engine note. It's the one thing that might redeem this car. So, that's the GCV-160. It may seem like $300 is a steal of a deal for any sort of new vehicle, but at the end of the day, a Ford Model T has more amenities than it. And now it's time to give it a NUG score. Starting with the weekend categories and styling, the GCV-160 is sleek and aerodynamic, and the open fender design is definitely a head-turner. But it's certainly no beauty queen, so it earns a 4 out of 10. Acceleration is abysmal. It doesn't even have a 0 to 60 time to compare to other cars, as its top speed is a brisk walk, and it earns the first ever 0 to be given out in any category. It's that slow. Handling is also not very good. None of the wheels turn, and for sharper corners you're forced to literally lift the front end of the vehicle just in order to turn. It earns a 1 out of 10. The fun factor doesn't save the GCV either, as it just isn't all that fun to drive. The only remotely fun thing about it is how easy it is to get wheel spin, and thanks to the tiny engine and plastic wheels, you can spin those tires without fear of them exploding or causing you to lose control. It earns a 1 out of 10. Cool factor is slightly higher, if only because most people won't know what it is. If you drive this to work, it's certainly a conversation starter, but that's about it. It earns a 2 out of 10. Added up, and the weekend score is 8 out of 50, making it the first car I've reviewed to score in the single digits in this group. As for the daily categories, starting with features, the GCV is pretty barbaric, especially by today's standards. It doesn't have a single gauge and definitely doesn't have a touchscreen. However, it does have some cool features such as the truly keyless start and entry. However, it still only earns a 1 out of 10. Comfort is fully dependent on what shoes you're wearing, as the GCV doesn't have any seats. However, the handlebar is fairly comfortable, and thanks to the lack of foot pedals, your legs won't cramp up on long drives. If I could guarantee that you'd always be wearing comfortable shoes, it would earn a 3, but since I have no control over your footwear, I have to lower the score to a 2 out of 10. Quality is good. This car doesn't require much maintenance at all, and while it doesn't idle overly smoothly, these Honda engines are known to outlast their owners, and it earns a 6 out of 10. Practicality is okay. Storage room is fairly limited, as whatever you're carrying needs to be able to fit within a backpack, but excellent grass mileage helps move this score up to a 6 out of 10. Finally, there's value, and with such a low price you'd expect this to be a high one, but it's not. The GCV just simply doesn't deliver on what buyers are looking for in a car. Not only that, but these have awful resale value, with many selling for under $50. It earns a 1 out of 10. Bringing the total daily score to a mere 10 out of 50. Surprisingly, it manages to beat out the Isetta, but for a vehicle from 2016, you'd hope it would be better than a 1969 fridge on wheels. Added up, and the NUG score is 18 out of 100, making this the new lowest car I've ever reviewed.